Hey YouTube, this is Robinats1 here, and today I am going to do a review for you the Justice League Flashpoint Paradox. So this film takes place just before the new 52, and whilst the DC New 52 has very mixed feelings among comic book fans since it was announced, this hasn't stopped Warner Brothers from greenlighting the Flashpoint animation movie that essentially kickstarted the New 52. Flashpoint is an event that featured the famous Scarlet Speedster, aka Flash, as he time travels to an alternate future following his rescue of his mother, who he saved from a murder that occurred in their home. Now, the fact that we are getting an animated Flash before we're getting a Flash movie is very, very telling. DC needs to get to a Flash movie. So, this one event changed because Flash saved his mother. That one event changed several aspects of the original timeline, such as Bruce Wayne dying rather than his parents dying, Superman landing in Metropolis rather than Smallville. The movie starts by introducing the audience to Barry and his mother, Nora Allen, whose car breaks down in the middle of the highway, and Barry attempts to get help from other people. Nora teaches Barry that you can't change people, and that sometimes you have to accept that. At first, Barry spends much of his life not understanding the lessons that Nora was trying to teach Flash. And as he becomes the Flash, Barry begins to learn the message, which becomes the focal theme of the story. As an undisclosed amount of time passes, Barry can be seen walking from school on his birthday and finds his home has been broken into. He then finds his mother lying on the floor, time passing as he just stares blankly as a team of policemen and a team of forensic experts are working on the crime scene. Now, why does no one take the kid away from him? I mean, why, he just stands there blankly as these people work. Why doesn't no one take him away from the scene? Anyway, that's just a little nitpick. Years later, Barry, as the Flash, lays roses on his mother's grave, wishing he could have saved her. If only if he had run a little faster, he says. He's alerted to a distress call at the Flash Museum and fights the Rogues, a team of Flash's well-known rogue gallery, who are revealed to be working for the Reverse Flash. After fighting them, the scene cuts to Barry waking up at his desk in the alternate future. The transition was very, very weird, and I felt that there was a major scene missing in the movie, as Flash just, happens to wake up in an alternate future, with no explanation as to why that happened. It's revealed later that Flash saved his mother, which altered the timeline. If the scene had been added in with the opening credits, or even if it had done that, we still needed that scene, as it's a key point that made the story make sense. As the movie progresses, it's quickly established that this is an alternate timeline. We see Thomas Wayne appear as the Batman, who Cyborg is trying to recruit into the Resistance, as well as an older Nora who is alive. We also see Atlantis and Themyscira at war with one another. This has led most of Europe being destroyed and millions of people being killed. Barry goes to see Bruce for help, only to discover that Wayne Manor is creepy and Thomas Wayne is the Batman. Barry attempts to recreate the conditions that created the Flash, as he has lost his powers in this alternate future. No explanation as to why he lost his powers. He just loses them and that's about it. I felt that an explanation was needed. Because it did not make sense why that happened. After getting his powers back, he finds that he is beginning to have memories of his world and the new alternate world being created. And he sees Clark's ship crash into Metropolis and also how the war started. Flash and Batman get Cyborg to uncover Superman, who looks very gangly and sickly in this movie, which was very interesting to see. After they are attacked by the military, Superman shows off his powers before leaving. Flash blacks out after more memories begin to affect his mind. After Flash wakes up, he encourages everyone to be heroes, and with that, they enter the final battle. The final battle was very bloody and adding to the graphic nature of the story. It's the Resistance versus Atlantis versus Themyscira, basically an all-out brawl between these characters. And unfortunately, most of the Resistance die in the final battle. From the very, very limited knowledge that I have of the comic, I always assumed that the fight was a little bit more optimistic. The fight between Wonder Woman and Aquaman whilst good, Aquaman came off as a bit of a douche, and I didn't care for him at all. Flash's dialogue with Reverse Flash did pretty much make the whole movie make sense, revealing that Flash saved his mother and altering time. Reverse Flash's motivation for doing this was he wanted to destroy everything Flash had created and try and discredit him as a superhero. And the Reverse Flash is shot by Batman, allowing Flash to reverse the damage done to time. He returns to his timeline, which is revealed to be the New 52 timeline-ish. It's not really explained if it's the New 52 timeline or not. And it gives Bruce the Thomas Wayne's letter to him, which is a very, very heartwarming moment. And then Barry finally learns what his mother was trying to teach him and then runs off into the night in a very, very cool sequence where Flash scales buildings in leaps and runs up buildings. So, that's the story. The Flash was a great film, focusing mostly on Flash's viewpoint of the story. Barry Allen, however, in this film, carried none of the wit that he had in the Justice League animated series, which is the Flash that I know. He maintained a very, very serious tone throughout the film. Having not read very much of Flashpoint or Flash comics in general, I can't comment on the characterization of Flash and how, if at all, he differs from his comic book roots. However, from the research that I have done, it's to my understanding that this movie was very, very loyal to the comic which I have two major problems with. The first is the missing scene that with Flash saving his mother. I'm sorry, but that scene was needed in order to make the whole movie make sense. If you're gonna have Flash forget that event, fine, but you needed to show that scene, or needed to make the transition period between Flash waking up at his desk in the alternate timeline and where you left off with it, because it didn't work. The second problem that I had with the movie is that the Justice League members like Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman overshadow Flash and make him kind of incompetent. Like, Batman appears in the first 20 or so minutes of the story, literally crashing into the scene and stealing the movie as he does. This is a major problem, as Flash comes off as quite incompetent and not able to handle himself as a superhero. And as great as Batman and Superman are, this is mainly a Flash film, and they kind of overshadow him. And this can also be extended to Thomas Wayne's portrayal as Batman. Thomas Wayne was a lot more interesting than Flash was. In this version, Thomas Wayne saw his son die and beat up a thug to death. His wife also becomes Joker, and he's very traumatized by the death of his son. The psychosis was interesting, and actually being able to see his wife as the Joker would have been awesome. Thomas is more worse off than Bruce, and is less tech-driven than his son. And what I mean by worse off is that Thomas Wayne literally lost everything, and he lost his will to live. And whilst Bruce uses the mantle of Batman and becomes Batman, Thomas Wayne just uses Batman to hide himself. For Bruce, it's more of, this is who he is. Whereas Thomas, it's more of, I'm hiding my inner pain, and I'm drinking and I'm shooting guns with no ethic or morals that my son has. Also, another problem that I had was Superman's story. It felt very tacked on and forced, and I didn't feel that he needed to be there. Like, Superman didn't even fill up the role of a Deus Ex Machina character. Like, he just comes in and makes everything better. He didn't do anything and didn't really solve any particular role. And finally, another problem that I had was the ridiculous amount of fan service that this film had. Like, we had Grifter, Calderon, Deathstroke, and Entragon, among other characters, that were just there and had no character development. And they were simply there to fill up screen time. Although seeing Calderon in this film was cool, again, it just filled up screen time that could have been focused into better parts. However, something that I did enjoy was Cyborg. He was a very well developed character in this movie, and I really liked that. Like, Cyborg is basically the primary superhero of this alternate DC universe. And as DC keeps on trying to make Cyborg into a key character in the DC universe, this really helped Cyborg, and actually showed off some of the skills that Cyborg can do. Another interesting point in the movie was Wonder Woman. And we get to see some of that killer instinct that she's known to have pre-52. In this version, she is the Queen of Themyscira and is willing to kill anyone who opposes her. And as I say, Wonder Woman is known to kill people, and one of the key characters that she killed pre-52 was Maxwell Lord. So in this alternate universe, Wonder Woman actually kills Billy Batson and Steve Trevor. And Steve Trevor's death at the hands of Wonder Woman was an interesting twist, as these two characters were lovers pre-52. However, going back to the negative side, killed Mira, Aquaman's wife. However, Aquaman cheated on Mira with Wonder Woman, making Aquaman very unsympathetic. And again, I really did not like Aquaman in this movie. He just came off as a giant douche, and his sole motivation was destroying everything without really a primal reason. Plus, it's not really explained why Aquaman and Wonder Woman are even at war with each other, apart from Mira's death. So I'm pretty sure there's another reason behind the war. It's just not told. And the movie was good, however it had a lot of fan service moments that brought in undeveloped characters to the screen. Again, the Superman story was tacked on and served no payoff at the conclusion of the story, and only distracted from the main events. Flash was a really good story, a really good character, and all of his appearances were all fun and gave me a nice introduction to his character. I do really recommend this movie. It has its flaws, but it is a very good film. But it does have a bit of violence that may be inappropriate for younger children. And it's worth a pick up if you want to see this film. And I do strongly recommend it. Okay, that's me done, and I shall see you all later. Bye.